What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of GearHead Garage. This week we're just going to take a quick look around, see what's going on in the shop, and update you on a couple projects. So first off, I have this 2005 Gixxer 600 that a buddy of mine bought about a month or so ago. It was super cheap. Basically, the kid wanted like $1,300 for it, and when he went to go see it, it was pretty beat up. And when he asked him to start it, ran basically on half the cylinders, and I'm going to show you why. So like I said, this thing's pretty beat up. Everywhere you look, it's pretty haggard, like a lot of broken clips for the body panels. Fairings are all scraped and dinged up, and windshield frame is broken, and it's pretty rough. But he figured for the price, ended up paying $1,200 for it. And for the price, he figured if we can get it running, then could definitely flip it and make a little bit of money off it. So, first few things that we noticed when he brought it over was the clutch cable had a whole bunch of slack in it, and even with the barrel adjusters adjusted all the way out up on the handlebars and down below here, the barrel adjusters were all the way out, and the cable still had like a ton of slack. Like you could pull it in and out, and it wasn't working. So we did get a new OEM clutch cable to replace the old aftermarket one that was in it. But then we also had to adjust for the push rod. That was actually fouled up. The previous owner had boogered all of that up, so that needed to be taken apart and fixed. And now we have a functioning clutch. But to address the running issue, first thing we did when he got here was we pulled the tank off so we could access the air box, pull the air box off, and take a look at the spark plugs and all that stuff. So cylinder one, the coil was fine. Spark plug was a little loose though, which I found a little suspicious. Then I went to cylinder two, same thing. Spark plug was a little loose. Cylinder three, the coil was actually broken in half. So I was like, okay, well that one's definitely not firing. Pulled that plug out, and again, that plug was loose too. Got to the fourth one, pulled the coil out. The coil was okay, but the plug wasn't even threaded in. It actually had stripped the threads right out of the cylinder head. So what I'm guessing happened was the previous owner didn't really know what they were doing, and they installed the plugs but didn't torque them correctly, and once it got under compression, it basically shot that number 4 spark plug out and stripped it out. So my buddy was pretty worried at that point, wasn't sure what to do with it, but I was able to go in and heel coil the head. We got some new spark plugs. He bought a used set of coils because just one OEM new one was more than like a set of 4 used ones. So now we got some spares just in case, but replaced that one coil that was broken in half and put some new spark plugs in it, and it fires up, runs pretty good. Still has a couple little running issues, but we'll get to that next. So like I said, the last thing I fixed was the clutch cables. Now we have a clutch. I did end up taking the engine cover off and inspecting the clutch discs. They all look good, but I'm waiting on my buddy to order the oil change kit for it so we can get oil back in it, and then we can see if it actually goes down the road. We have no idea at this point. So that's kind of the dealio on that. And then we got this Jeep that was towed in this morning. Customer called last week and said that they were driving, and all of a sudden it felt sluggish. Pulled over and noticed a lot of heat coming from the driver's side front wheel and smoke coming off of it. So I was like, well, it's most likely either the caliper seized up or possibly the brake line. So I actually went ahead and just ordered a new caliper, brake line, and pads and rotors. So I'm still waiting on the pads and rotors to come in. They should be here within a couple hours, but I already went ahead this morning and got the new caliper on there and the new brake line, and just ran it down the road with the old pads and rotors just to make sure that it was actually the caliper that was having an issue. So all that seemed fine. Drove it around for about 15 minutes, no heat in it or anything, so everything's good with that. Just waiting on the new pads and rotors, slap that back on, and then we should be good to go. The other thing I'm working on is one of my trucks. This is my 2006 Toyota Tacoma X-Runner. So what I'm doing today is ditching the factory style front brakes, which are pretty dinky. As you can see, it's a single piston caliper. And what we're upgrading to is this. This is a 360 millimeter rotor off of a Lexus ISF, and the caliper is a 4-piston caliper off of a Toyota Tundra. And the only other things you need to do this conversion are these caliper brackets, which are made by my buddy Josiah over at Strictly Street. Really good dude. He makes these and a few other parts for these X-Runners. And then the only other part you need is this brake line right here, which is made by StopTech. So the rotors and calipers and the pads I actually got used from another X-Runner buddy of mine. As you can see, these rotors are not brand new, but they're basically new. Everything's got 200 miles on it. He had it on his truck for a little bit and ended up changing his setup. So when I got the adapter brackets, he's like, hey, I got everything you need. So he gave me a killer deal on it. So I'm just in the middle of hooking that up. I got this side already mocked up. I had to take the backing plate off, as you can see here, to run the new larger rotors on here. And so now I just gotta disconnect the old line, hook this one up real quick to hopefully not lose that much fluid, and then do the same thing on the other side. So we will be doing a complete overview of this truck eventually, and go over all the mods and stuff I've done and how long I've had it and all that stuff. But that might be next week, so you'll have to tune in and see what we got going on then. But until then, I'll see you guys later.